Lucy. It's lovely to meet you. It's quite a step for us because you were one of the very first schools in the northwest of England that Glasson Society has now reached. Although I'm actually in discussions this afternoon with the Association of Science Education to develop our reach a lot further in your region, but it's a very interesting step. So we're delighted that you can actually be one of our trailblazers. Thank you. The other thing is as well, and those that have listened to me speak before will know our world has changed dramatically in the last year. I'm sure I don't need to tell you that. I expect you've been at work all the way through it, but for us, of course, the charity had to change the way it operated entirely. Once upon a time, I would go, or the master would go to a school assembly and with many excited children and hand out that old-fashioned thing we call a cheque and all that sort of thing. And of course, today that isn't possible. So we'd love to come and see you at some point. But clearly at the moment it now is not possible. And we've also moved to high technology, namely bank transfers. Not quite as exciting, but once you've gone through the process and once you've sent us a nice report at the end of it all, between the clerk and myself, we will arrange for your school to have a certificate that you can put up in the lobby of the school. So I know those things always go down very well in the education world. So delighted that we can work with you. Thank you for making the application, and perhaps you can tell us a little bit about you and your school.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you for accepting the application. I heard through another school that is close to us, so we're part of the Ogden Trust, the Rochdale Ogden Trust. So
that's the Ogden, is it? Yeah, good.
We have links with other schools. That's how I've heard about the application. So our school, Crossgates Primary School in Rochdale, we're a grant maintained school, so we're foundation school, so we're not linked to Rochdale or local authority. We have 315 pupils, so we're a 1.5 form entry, and we have 11 classes. So as the children move through school, there are different units. So we have a year 1 class, a reception class, and then a mixed year 1 reception. In my unit, so I teach year 2 and 3, we have 3 mixed year 2 and 3 classes. Then as we move up through school, there's 3 mixed year 4 and 5 classes, and then there's 2 year 6. So we're quite different in the way that we structure our year groups, because year 2 and 3 are across 2 key stages, but we find that it helps the children in year 2, they've got someone to look up to, and the year 3s are they're quite innocent, and they still like all the fun aspects, so they've still got a bit of that before they move up to the next key stage. So there are 11 classes. We're in Rochdale, but we're in quite a good socio-economic area of Rochdale. So we have quite a low pupil premium. So we don't get a lot of funding from the authority or from anywhere else. So although we have children from good families, or seem to be good families, we struggle with funding for things because we don't get a lot through our pupil premium money. So something like this is really valuable to us because we don't have the money to spend otherwise, whereas other schools might already have the extra money. So the children still need it just as much, and we're going to get a lot of value from the resources because we don't get it from anywhere else really. So I heard of you through the Ogden Trust, so we're a big, that's a big part of where we share our resources. So we've got lots of things like data loggers that we share with children and other schools in the trust, and we have things that we do together like great science shares, and we get together to do fundraising and things like that because we're all in the same area. So in regards to science, we have a lot of links with other schools. So any resources that we get, we'll share them with the schools in the Ogden Trust. And then from a science point of view, because I should have said I'm the science coordinator at Crossgates, I'm trying to promote the love of science, and I want children in our school to want to have a job that's linked to science. So we try to have things like super scientist. We get the children to wear lab coats. One of our schools in the trust had funding from the Ogden Trust to build a science lab. So we've been able to visit the science lab and use it to be scientists. And so that we're giving children opportunities that they might not otherwise get. So the children are very excited to get microscopes, and that I've made a video of what they think that they might use them for, because they'll be used across all of school, so that they're getting in all of our working scientifically skills, as well as anything that such as light and microorganisms. Obviously they will be linked to those topics, but we're going to hopefully use them throughout school so that everyone can make use of them. And I don't know what else you'd like to know about our school. I've spoken from a science point of view, I suppose, but I don't know if anyone wants to know anything else.
Shall we show the video?
Yeah.
And then we can have a chat after that. Eh? Just
Okay.
1 second.
I hope you can hear them. Some of them
are a bit quiet. Here we go.
Yeah.
So what is science?
Science is full of experiments. Have you ever tried putting Coca-Cola with Mentos in?
What
I'll give you a bit of
happens?
a surprise on that one.
Go on, what happens?
It explodes.
Okay, so what is science, Ivy?
It's about experimenting and finding out the answer to things that you don't know.
Well, science is where you experiment stuff and learn about like weathers, stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, it's like learning about stuff with physics and stuff.
It's like learning about what creates the world. Science experiments, physics, and knowing about the world. And measuring electricity.
Science is where you use hypotheses and methods to find out things in the world, like climate change or why volcanoes erupt, and etc.
Science also is when you learn about how the world can evolve in different chemicals and things that can change the planet and the way people act.
Science is where you discover and answer questions.
And it's where you do experiments on things like, normal ones in everyday life.
So why is science important?
Science is full of mystery, isn't it? So, like doctors, if doctors didn't have scientists, the doctors would not be able to cure anybody.
Go on, Ivy.
So if you're older and you want to be a detective, you need to learn all about science because you have to figure out the clues.
To understand the world around us and get special jobs that you would need. Jobs like electricians, nurses, and doctors working for NASA. Because if you want to be a scientist when you're older, and then you get these chemicals and then you put them together, it might go kaboom, and you don't want it to go kaboom, kaboom, kaboom. Science is where if we didn't have science, we
you will really be able to learn about all the things that happen in the world and find what scientists find.
Well, it's to learn about the world and stuff. And if you don't know about the world, you don't know how to do stuff.
And like science is fun and you have it gives you knowledge, so and you have to have quite a lot of knowledge to like clever.
What would you use microscopes for?
To like look at really little stuff and like bacteria even.
Like if you put your hand under a microscope, you can see all the bacteria on your hands, and then you'll know like if you even have germs when you wash your hands. I think I would look at tiny, whiny things like crystals and rocks to see how old they are and fossils.
Yeah, I think I'd look at like old like stuff that looks like nice on the outside, but if you look with a microscope, it's like that. I would use microscopes to find out what is in bugs and small things, and if you experiment on something absolutely small, like calcium, nine,
To see cells and see special stuff that you wouldn't see with the naked eye.
Yes. So, because you can look at like tiny little things that you will never see unless you use a microscope.
I would use microscopes to find the virus, because you need one of those to see it because it's very small.
And maybe genes and bacteria and chemicals that you learn about in older years.
So why do we need a microscope to learn about these things?
To understand why we get ill from these things, maybe.
And to experiment them because they're really small.
What's your favourite part of science?
Probably learning new things and understanding the difference between certain things and why our world works the way it is and why we are the way we are.
My favourite part of science is when there's new topics and interesting facts to learn, and when you get to do experiments to try out some of the things.
So I do a science channel with my mum on YouTube, and it's called Science at Home, and we do lots of fun science experiments at home, and some of them blow up in our faces. And we did at Halloween one, we dressed up as mad scientists.
Excellent.
So I just asked them and didn't give them any prep, and just to see what they said. So I told them that they could smile though. Some of them didn't look too enthusiastic. And the little girl at the end said, well, can I talk about my science channel? Because over lockdown, her and her mum have been doing science experiments for other children to watch and follow at home. So she was excited to tell you all about that.
Yeah, I'm quite fascinated. I'm going to start trying to persuade the glass sellers to go, come on! And the other one is stuff. We have lots of stuff.
Absolutely right.
Stuff.
I thought stuff was good too. Absolutely marvellous.
Absolutely
I
wonderful.
love the grandiose hypothesis and method from one young lad.
Yeah, he was a year 6.
Oh yes, he was clearly well.
I was impressed he could get his tongue round it.
Yes.
I
was a
think
bit
the
worried
clerk,
about a young lad wearing Betway. You don't encourage them to bet, to gamble.
I don't know who that. It was
Burnley Football Club.
Football club.
Oh,
yeah.
was it? It was non-uniform day, so they weren't in their uniforms. I should have recorded another day when they were.
No,
Really.
don't worry.
no, not at all. It's fine. That's
No,
great.
I think the
I
reality
think
is
Clark should
wonderful.
definitely do the Mentos and a fizzy drink experiment online.
I'm not sure. I think he maybe thought he was on a chat show when I started to ask him questions at first.
Wonderful enthusiasm.
Do you have many language difficulties, or are they predominantly English speaking?
Yeah, we have predominantly white English backgrounds. So no, we don't have many EAL students. We don't have any EAL students, no. Which is quite abnormal for a school in Rochdale.
Yeah,
but,
well, it's unusual in general, I would suggest.
Yeah.
And the support from parents, do they get involved well with the school?
Yeah, we have a lot of support from parents. So over lockdown, they've all done a really good job of amazingly doing their own job and teaching their children too. So we're hoping that there isn't too much of a catch-up period that we need, because they have all been working really hard. So parents are very supportive.
And how many staff do you have at the school?
Oh, well, we have 11 teachers for the 11 classes, then each class has a teaching assistant, so that will be 22. And then we have 2 one-to-ones, and then head teacher and office staff. So
I saw in your application that that you're part of the Ogden Trust and you'll share this with other schools. Can you just remind me how big the Ogden Trust is and how many schools we're talking about, or how many pupils we're likely to be talking about?
So the Ogden Trust, one of the schools that is in our trust. So the Ogden Trust is a huge organisation, but in our part there are four schools. We originally started with 5, and then 1 school dropped out, and we've actually been going for about 4 years now. So we've been working together for a long time, and one of the schools that are in our trust, called Lower Place Primary School, is the primary school that the Ogden Trust came from. So Mr. Ogden went to Lower Place, and so we're quite lucky. They're the school that have the science lab. So he came and did when the science lab opened, he came and opened the science lab, cut the ribbon, and we were in the newspaper. Well, the school were in the newspaper, but all of the schools in our trust went to watch the opening and do some science experiments. So there's 4 of us in our group. Obviously this year we haven't really been able to get together, but we've bought resources this year instead of paying for visitors or trips.
I presume that some of those schools are in less advantageous economic areas. Are they of Rochdale?
Yes, so one of the schools, I think one of the schools has applied, they're in Middleton, but then one of the schools is literally just down the road, so they have a similar background to us because we're in a similar area. And then Lower Place do have a lot of EAL students, I think mostly EAL at Lower Place. So we do have different backgrounds and different children from different families.
Yeah, so it's you're sharing this equipment with the other schools where it's appropriate.
Yeah. So we communicate through WhatsApp, and then if we're doing a topic where we need the data loggers, then we say, please could I just call and because we're all very close together, we can just call in on the way home.
Yeah. Whatever happened before WhatsApp?
I know.
Goodness only knows. Lucy, I've just shared, for the benefit of everybody, we've talked about the Ogden Trust a lot in relation to other schools, because I started a relationship with them about 5 years ago. Ron, if you actually look on the chat, I've actually done a link to the Ogden Trust, and they're an amazing. It's a family-based trust, specifically physics orientated. They have something, I think, in excess of 100 million that they invest. So they give an awful lot of money away. A fantastic organisation.
It's been brilliant for our school, because we go each term, or one member of staff each year, we go on a training day, and then you get a box of resources worth however much, and all of the lessons involving in that topic are there for everyone in the school to use. But they are a physics based company or charity, so it's only physics topics that we get from the Ogden Trust.
That's right, exactly that. Yeah, yeah.
But are they actually involved in your governance or not?
No, no.
So as a grant-maintained school, who does govern you, so to speak?
So our governors govern the school, and then our budgets and things like that are, so my employer is Crossgates Primary School. So the governors govern us, and we control our own budgets. We're not under the local authority.
Where does your funding then come from?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Is there a pot of gold, or does it come from the Department of Education?
I think it's DOE.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be pupil premiums, won't there, per pupil? The cost
the
amount per pupil from the DOE.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it does.
Yeah.
But it means you were once the equivalent of a grammar school, doesn't it?
Well, we only changed to be a well, it was called grant maintained, and now it's called foundation school, but it was only a few years ago. We haven't been like that for
I see.
a long period of time. It's only a few years.
How long have you been at the school, Lucy?
And this is my 7th year. So when I know. So when I first joined Crossgates, I taught in year 6 for 3 years, and then I moved down to year 2 and 3, which was a big jump. And then before Christmas, because we were unable to employ new staff and one member of staff left, I just had to temporarily do up till Christmas in year 4 and 5, and now I'm back in year 2 and 3.
Wow.
So there's been a lot of change.
And are you a local person, or is it a new area for you?
No, so I live in Oldham, which you might have heard about on the news. We're having high corona cases. So I live in Oldham, which isn't too far, about 15 minutes drive.
And that's your part of the world, is it?
Yeah. Yes.
Have you managed to steer clear of COVID then, Lucy?
No, unfortunately not. I had COVID.
Oh gosh.
I caught COVID the last week of the Christmas term. So
oh no.
Christmas Day was in isolation.
Dear, oh dear.
I know. Made it through a whole term, and then, but luckily I was okay. I wasn't too poorly.
Pleased to hear it. Pleased to hear it.
Lovely.
Do you have much COVID in the school?
Not at the moment. At the moment, there's a cold going around, so you can probably hear my voice is a bit. I've got a cold because everyone's got a cold, but it's because all the children have suddenly come back. So in September, what we seem to have had is a lot of children going for tests, but then they come back negative. So there's a handful of children from each class that go each week, but they come back 2 days later when the results come in.
You'll be pleased to know, Lucy, that there was some research today that was publicised to say that the common cold is quite good at knocking out COVID.
Oh,
so if you've got a common cold, it's very difficult for COVID to get a hold. So if you've got a cold going around the school, you're much more likely to have less COVID infections than you would. So the cold is not necessarily a bad thing.
That's good news. I'm going for my vaccination tomorrow. Yeah.
I think most of the others on the screen have had theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're far too old.
We're all.
Some of us are so old we've had 2.
I'm not saying.
Do you know which one you're having?
No, I don't, because I'm not sure yet, but I have a peanut allergy, so I don't know. I've got an EpiPen. They seem to have a problem with people having that if they've got an EpiPen, so I don't know. I'm going to see when I get there what they say.
That's the same. I love peanuts.
Yeah.
More revelations, Master.
I'm a peanut addict.
I must say, Lucy, your children have got a wonderfully diverse approach to science. It was fascinating here, because very often you talk to children, and if they've all done the same class, then they all say the same things. But yours didn't. They were all very, very different. Very good. Yes.
That's nice to hear that they do remember things that they've been taught so far. The one boy talking about electricity, they are learning about electricity at the moment.
Yeah, I thought he was quite a spark, actually.
And of course, there was the young girl who decided that she quite liked to have some form of explosion.
She's in my class, but there's been no explosions, I can assure you.
Yet.
Well, I think, has anybody got any more questions they wish to challenge Lucy with? No, then I think the time has come probably to wind up this little session. Lucy, thank you so much. That was a very professional presentation. We learned a lot about your school, and we were greatly impressed by the enthusiasm and diversity of approach, as Barbara said, of your children. And it was, we could hear everything they said, actually, which is sometimes quite unusual. And it's so impressive and encouraging to see their sort of interest and enthusiasm evolving. And clearly you have a lot to do with that. You must be a very successful science lead, I think.
I try.
And, I'm delighted that we are able to help you in but a small way. As has been explained to you, we are not one of the richest livery companies in the world, but it's very heartening to see that the odd £1,000 can, at the right level and the right place, make such a measurable difference.
It really will.
Good. And so we are so glad to be associated with you. Thank you to Chairman Lee and his henchmen for all their efforts in developing this project. And do make the best of what we give you. Let us know what you use it for. I mean, do send us a video, and we'd love to see. And one of us may well come and see you one day, though it's a long way from the Isle of Dogs. But I'm sure we can arrange something. And don't hesitate to try us again. I'm not saying that Chairman Lee will offer you anything, but it's worth trying.
You can always try, and Master, I suspect Matt and Karen Demon have been kind enough to actually assist us in the schools in the region. So it may well be that you actually have the current president of British Glass coming to see you, who happens to be a liveryman living in Cheshire. So that would be brilliant.
So you'll have to give him a glass of wine when he comes. But not, I have a little story that occurred years ago when I was in Ceausescu's Romania, and an interparliamentary delegation visited and were taken to a crystal factory. And amongst the delegation was one really socialist MP who thought that everything in Romania was perfect and that we all ought to live like the Romanians, God forbid. And when they came to this factory, they were given a presentation in the sort of special room. They wouldn't show them around the factory; they might pick up secrets. And so they were offered a glass of wine in some elegantly cut crystal. And this MP would happen to be the one who picked up the glass that had been overcut. And as he picked it up, red wine spurted out of all the interstices of the overcut glass, disillusioning him about the efficiency of Romanian industry. Sorry, that's a totally irrelevant story, but just make sure it doesn't happen to Matt Demon when he comes to see you.
I'll make sure.
They can always look for any defects in the glass before Matt arrives by using the microscope.
I could.
Absolutely, yes. Well,
I don't think you'll get wine in a school, Mark.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I'm wittering on. Thank you so much, Lucy, and the best of luck with your school and science.
Thank you very much. We'll definitely make sure that we video our results and let you know how we use them.
Yeah, brilliant. Lovely.
Thank you very much. Lovely.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your afternoon, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye for now, everybody.